This is Federalist 24, Part 1. If you recall from the last Federalist, I said Hamilton is going to talk about the issues related to the national defense in Federalists 23 through 29. Here he's going to continue with what he was saying in Federalist number 23. So this is paragraph 1 of Federalist 24, part 1. To the powers proposed to be conferred upon the federal government in respect to the creation and direction of the national forces, I have met with but one specific objection, which, if I understand it rightly, is this: that proper provision has not been made against the existence of standing armies in time of peace. An objection which I shall now endeavor to show rests on weak and unsubstantial foundations. So he says anti-federalists, those who oppose this Constitution, are constantly complaining that we are going to have a standing army, a professional army, and in this new Constitution. And that is not something that Americans want. That's not something that Americans are used to. Americans have been using their militia for the longest time. These are regular people that get training every once in a while and do service in times of emergency. We've never had a standing army, he says, and we cannot trust the new government to have a professional army. And Hamilton is going to tell them that, number one, your accusations are not right. Number two, we have to have a small trained army because of the circumstances we are in. Okay, let me read some more. It has indeed been brought forward in the most vague and general form, supported only by bold assertions without the appearance of argument, without even the sanction of theoretical opinions, in contradiction to the practice of other free nations and to the general sense of America as expressed in most of the existing constitutions. The propriety of this remark will appear the moment it is recollected that the objection under consideration turns upon a supposed necessity of restraining the legislative authority of the nation in the article of military establishments, a principle unheard of except in one or two of our state constitutions and rejected in all the rest. He says whoever who's making these accusations, who is criticizing us, it looks like they've either not paid attention to this new Constitution or they have not read the other 13 constitutions of the 13 states. He says that only two of them, and these two are New York and Pennsylvania and North Carolina. He says only in those two there is a mention of standing armies. The rest of them really don't say that much about it. Or if they do, it is not like you cannot absolutely have a standing army. So he says, these people who are criticizing us have not done their homework. They have not read what needs to be read. Then he continues, a stranger to our politics who was to read our newspapers at the present juncture without having previously inspected the plan reported by the convention would be naturally led to one of two conclusions. Either that it contained a positive injunction and standing armies should be kept up in time of peace, or that it is vested in the executive the whole power of levying troops without subjecting his discretion in any shape to the control of the legislature. So it says if a stranger shows up and starts reading our newspapers, and these people who are criticizing us, they really believe that we've just handed the whole army to the executive branch and do not have any restraint on it, do not control it in any way. He says this is far from the truth. All the accusations against this new system, this new constitution we proposed, he says they're just not factually true. Then he continues, if he came afterwards to peruse the plan itself, in other words, if he started actually reading the Constitution that we have recommended, he would be surprised to discover that neither the one nor the other was the case. He'll find out that neither one of these accusations against it are right. Neither of them is right. That the whole power of raising armies was lodged in the legislature, not in the executive. And he's actually focusing on legislature and executive. He says, whoever pays attention and reads our Constitution, the new Constitution, closely will realize that the power of raising armies and anything related to that is in the hands of the legislature or legislative branch, not in the hands of executive. That this legislature was to be a popular body consisting of the representatives of the people periodically elected, and that instead of the provision he had supposed in favor of standing armies, there was to be found in there was to be found in respect to this object an important qualification, even of the legislative direction, in that clause which forbids the appropriation of money for support of an army for any longer period than 2 years. A precaution which upon a nearer view of it will appear to be a great and real security against military establishments without evident necessity. So he says, not only if you read this Constitution, not only you'll find out that the accusations against us are wrong, but also you find out a wonderful provision that is unique, that has not been done anywhere else, that only Americans have come up with this idea, that the power of raising armies not only is in the hands of the legislature, these are people who are being elected by you Americans, but also their legislature can appropriate money, can give the military establishment money, or give enough money for military to do its job for only 2 years, no longer than 2 years. And you'll find out as we go on and we read the rest of the Federalists, the reason it's 2 years is because the members of the House of Representatives are elected for 2 years. So if a group of members to the House of Representatives make a mistake or they do something that people don't like, people can just throw them out of office and elect new members, and these new members will not give any money for military purposes. That's what the word appropriation means. It means you set aside money for a particular reason. So he says, we've done this wonderful thing that this way we can control the military's expenditure. We won't let a general, we won't let a executive, a president have as much money as he wants to, she wants to do whatever he or she wants to. It says that money is appropriated for only 2 years. So even if something wrong happens, you can always throw these people out of office in the next election and send new people to correct the problem.